What is up, bros? This is BDLM coming to you with Brochat, episode 3. Here's my buddy J4Y. What's going on, buddy?
Hey man, how you doing? I'm doing great, glad to finally, it took a few weeks actually since our last time, but we're trying to get a little back on track here, trying to maybe even make this a regular thing. Anyways, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited. This Brochat of ours is going to focus on the last two patches we've had, the one from December 8th and then December 16th. Bringing in the heroes Death Prophet and Mr. Fuzzy Wuzzy, the Ursa warrior. So it'll be really interesting to see how those two heroes wind up working in the game. But before we get to all that, we're going to start with some of the basic changes that were made to the game in those patches. In the 12.8 update, they added something I think is really awesome. When trying to load, if one person doesn't connect to the game, then everybody gets kicked out instead of starting it up as a 4v5 game. I think it's just really nice. And they also added something where when you were dead, you could buy items and they would put them directly into your inventory instead of them being put into your stash.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the connection one, we've all been there, as you know. I mean, it's going to happen. But now with obviously this change, it's obviously, it's going to help people. We're going to get games. Hopefully that's a full 5v5, instead of these 4v5. And then, of course, buying the item thing, I mean, that's not a huge change because either way you're dead. Unless there's, of course, some way to bug it out, perhaps.
What could there possibly be? Well, let's take a look then at the 12.16 update. One of the really cool things I absolutely love is being able to edit the suggested item list. Just fantastic. I mean, I think after you play your first, 5-10 games, you really start to learn where everything is, but it's just so much nicer when you just have everything already set up there for you, so you don't have to worry about it. The other thing, too, is they actually removed the thing we were just talking about. Yeah, I mean, what could possibly happen? Apparently, if you had Aegis and you died, or you were Skeleton King and you died, if you bought items while you were dead, you would resurrect with them on your person. So you get them in there without even having to return to base. It's
working as intended.
Yes, working as intended. So they did remove that from the game. You actually have to click grab all now when you're as ridiculous. They also added Lifestealer and Death Prophet into the Captain's mode. So now we have the potential of seeing them picked up in professional games. So do you have any thoughts on that? I mean,
in general, obviously, I gave my little tidbit on the first patch, and then obviously how they, I was going to say revoke. Is that the right word I want to use here? Basically, when they nullified the first change with the buying of the item going to, makes a lot of sense, obviously, seeing as how people found out loopholes with it, and you don't want someone to buy like a big item like an ultimate orb and come back to, hey, what's up, guys? Now I have 200 more health or something ridiculous. And of course, I'm kind of excited about the Lifestealer Death Prophet coming to Captain's mode. I'm always interested, of course, to see new heroes introduced to that and seeing if these competitive teams can find new uses for them. Obviously, they've been around Dota 1 forever. You don't see them picked up very often at all. Of course, Lifestealer was never picked up. Maybe Death Prophet occasionally here and there. But, it's interesting seeing, because it's a limited hero pool right now, maybe there is something they can make use of them where they wouldn't in Dota 1.
Yeah, it's something that I never really had thought about before that much, but you think about it, because you have that limited hero pool to start with, it's really kind of very different from what is. It's not just that there are less heroes, it's that there are different combinations of heroes. And as these other heroes come in, if there's someone that you might consider a quote-unquote counter to a hero that's not in the game yet, then all of a sudden that hero might be really popular because you don't have the option of picking that quote-unquote counter. What do you think about this suggested item editor? I mean, it's a pretty sweet deal, I think.
I haven't got a chance to use it, unfortunately. I saw it in the patch notes yesterday on Thursday, and I was like, oh, this sounds awesome. There's other MOBAs out there that have tried similar things, and it's worked out, I think, pretty well. But ultimately, being able to customize that little menu on the side is, I think, a huge deal. It's not going to save you tons of time, but in the end, you know what you want with certain heroes. And when you play these heroes over and over again, like my Ancient Apparition, 8 and 3, I'm going to keep bragging about it every time I can because it's amazing.
Hey, 12 and 4, Crystal Maiden, my friend. Just saying.
Yeah, but you support. That doesn't count. But yeah, knowing that I want this starting build every time, most likely. Just being able to change that up. Yeah, in the end, it will save you some time. And you don't have to go looking through the shop or typing in something. You can just go right there, boom, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easier for you, too. I mean, you think about just video games in general, the broad strokes are, obviously nice. That's the core of the game, but it's really those little touches that really kind of push a game over the top. Like, the first time I heard the hero interactions, like you think about Nature's Prophet and Leshrac, I was so just excited. Like, that's such a cool thing they did. Like when Nature's Prophet kills Leshrac, he says something like, "You'll split the earth no more." And what do you know? Leshrac's Q ability is called Split Earth. It's really interesting how those heroes that in lore talk to one another. They have something that goes on inside the game, and that's just, I think, really cool. And so just like that, it's something that doesn't really affect the way the game's played, but it's just that nice little polish that Valve's doing a really good job of with this game so far.
Yeah, I kind of want to ask you a quick question, because, I mean, we do... Well, we're done. Yeah, like, going into... I guess we can talk about other MOBAs just a little bit in here if we want to. I'm going to. Anyway, so regardless what the rules are, screw them. So, like, in Han, there's the taunting system. Do you think Dota 2 is going to try to implement something like that?
I don't know. I mean, there isn't really a point. I think, for the sake of good manner, I would probably not put it in.
Not very professional.
No, it's not. And, it is a game that is played professionally. And you want to encourage good manner as much as possible, I think. Because I think when you, especially come into MOBAs, it's so easy and it's so common to find people that are just jerks and, just like pushing people's buttons. Giving them fewer opportunities to do that is probably for the best. But I am really interested to see what other kind of stuff they do add to this game to help push it over the top and make it better than LoL or Han.
Yeah, it seems like in this beta they really are listening to a lot of the suggestions the community brings in, as well as bug fixes. You see so many in each week's update, so it's been a really interactive beta, to say the least. Really great response. And so far, I think recently it has been, at least the last 2 weeks, it's been some kind of patch, regardless of it's a big one, a hero. I think it's 2 heroes in a row now, which is awesome. If they can keep a pace like that, I think it's going to really give us more things to try out, and really, I'll personally be super excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit greedy. I kind of like going in through some of the past things. You had the one patch where they introduced both Dragon Knight and Omni Knight, and then before that they had Jikro.
Stop calling. Are you calling him that on purpose now, just to troll me? Jakiro! I don't even know why I gave it a Spanish twist there.
Well,
maybe he's a Spanish two-headed dragon.
There you go.
Or maybe one head
one is Spanish, the other one's Italian.
Ah.
There you go.
We figured it out. Mystery solved.
There you go, yep.
I think there was an alchemist and something else in another patch.
Alchemist is by himself.
Was he?
There were 3 fire users
He's
together.
that strong.
Jakiro!
Oh, so it was definitely... Lena had to be one of them.
I think Lena was in the game before that, wasn't she?
Wow, maybe she was. Well, who else interacts with fire on a regular basis?
You know what? Let's take a look, quick see here. But anyway,
and
while I'm doing
that, yeah, I agree with you. It is nice when they do introduce more than one at a time, of course, because it's more to... Because, when it is like one hero at a time, when you join a game, someone is ready to just click that spot wherever it is, and you're like, oh man, I didn't even know where it was to start out with. This guy's already on top of it. So the only way you could really play him is like in a practice game or something, which is just not as fun.
Yeah, I can't actually go back far enough to see. But yeah, plus it's like Christmas, man. She's got like these cool new toys to play with, and it's just...
It's almost Christmas.
It's just fantastic. Yeah, maybe we'll do a nice little Christmas patch, and we'll get like half the heroes in Dota. That'd be pretty
as
fun.
long as the Wisp and Goblin Techies come in,
there you
all
go.
I need.
It's actually quite a lot of work. I don't really think about it, but they have to do all the animations, the 3D art for the heroes, and they have to get the voice actors in there.
Oh yeah.
There's actually really a lot you have to do to get these heroes into the game, and especially like we were talking about earlier, Valve's doing a really good job of that, like, extra flavor text, like when certain heroes pick up certain items, like, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking Broodmother, when she picks up Black King Bar, like, she says the name of the item, and then the different interactions between the heroes, like, there's a lot more to it than just, yes, I'm going, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's more than just 2 or 3 lines that these voice actors actually have to get out, so.
And I was also thinking, they actually have already, I know at least one hero they've tweaked how their moves are made. And maybe that's something else they consider about balancing. For example, Chen, how it used to be, I believe Test of Faith was used to be the spell that you could either do damage to a hero or teleport an allied hero back to your base. But now it's on, I'm blanking on the name of the move.
Holy Persuasion.
Yeah, Holy Persuasion, where you know normally you take over a neutral creep. Now that also has that allied thing that can teleport. So now I think honestly he's more useful now because they did that. But in Dota 1 originally, that's not how the hero was made. So it's interesting to see how they're tweaking these guys along the way.
Yeah, I mean that's the really nice thing about having Ice Frog be a part of making Dota 2 is he's still there to really kind of make those. He might not be the the final say in how these heroes wind up coming out, but I think Valve is well aware that Dota is his baby, and he understands at a very deep level how the game functions, how it balances, and how it should kind of move forward.
It's like a baby daddy more.
Baby daddy?
Yeah, he's
the baby daddy. Who's the mother?
That's a strong question.
That is the strong question.
Strong question of the day.
Just floated in a little basket, Dota. But yeah, so let's talk about the big parts of the patch, the heroes that come in.
Yeah, of course.
Crobolus, Death Prophet, the first one. Let's just run through her abilities real quick. First off, we have the Carrion Swarm, which I noticed earlier today. If you look at the little thumbnail art for Carrion Swarm, it's pictures of bats.
Huh.
I was not aware that
I
locusts...
never knew that they were bats.
And yes, well, apparently those are the same animal. Little known fact.
Interesting.
So the Carrion Swarm, it's a conal nuke in an AoE. Gives you some ability to put up some strong damage. Really, her only nuke spell,
Absolutely,
being a caster. Her second ability, Silence and AoE. At maximum rank, goes up to 6 seconds worth of silence.
Identical to Drow.
Yes, identical to Drow, and that's something that really makes Drow viable. And that it's just an amazing thing to have an AoE silence for 6 seconds, which in this kind of a game is an eternity. Witchcraft actually increases the abilities of all of her other abilities, and it also gives her passive movement speed. So it decreases the cost of her other abilities. Decreases the cooldown, and for her ultimate exorcism, which we haven't gotten to yet, it adds spirits onto how many she summons. So, talking about this exorcism, summon spirits that kind of have a mind of their own in an area around her that attack random units, heroes, buildings, doing damage, and when the spell ends, all these units return to her and heal her for a certain amount.
Based on how much damage they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What are your general feelings on Crobolus?
I think she's a lot of fun to play, and the reason I like her is just because of how much she can spam that Carrion Swarm. She's like not most nukers. I mean, they have like those nice spells, but just generally they're kind of long cooldown. And this one on the hand is just a nice big wave. You can shoot in a direction and do whatever you want with it. And then, of course, like you said, with Witchcraft, which is a normal general skill build with her is to maximize, of course, that Carrion Swarm since it's your nuke, and then to go Witchcraft afterwards just to improve it, reduce that cost, reduce the cooldown, and just overall obviously make it a better spell for you. And I think she's a fun hero, like I said, and she's really good for pushing, of course, because like you said, her ultimate, those spirits can attack buildings as well as units. So the only problem is, you can't control them, which can lead to some issues down the road.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, the nice thing about it is at final rank, the exorcism itself, it summons 18 spirits. And with Witchcraft max out, there's an additional 6. So if my math is correct, which, sometimes my God, if it's not at this point, 24 spirits in total, which can, attack multiple things. So it's kind of nice while you can get in nice situations where if there's only one thing in range, then that thing is just going to get raped. But at the same time, you're also capable of doing a lot of AoE damage in fights as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very versatile move, of course. And it's kind of like, I guess I would compare her similar to Shadow Shaman, except without hard CC. Just because she has an ultimate that's really good for pushing lane if she wants to. She has a nice AoE nuke. So she has this kind of different roles, except for Shadow Shaman, of course, like I said, has hard CC. So in that sense, that's probably why he would be picked up more often than her in a lot of ways. But she's different, I guess, in that sense. And I mean, we can go eventually into item builds after this if you want to, but I don't know. Have you had a chance to play her a lot?
I haven't. I've actually been trying to watch her a lot in games. Unfortunately, sometimes you just watch some of them and you're like, yeah, no. But then other times you get to see some legitimate builds, and it's really interesting. What kind of role do you see her playing? I mean, I think probably the most popular, or maybe you could say the best way to do it would be as a solo.
Yeah, I think she and Necrolite, I think, are really similar in the sense that they need items. I mean, she benefits probably from levels a little more than Necrolite would, just because you want that wave to be maxed out, and then if her ultimate gets maxed out, it goes. This number of spirits go up like exponentially, and I mean that really can help for pushing a lane. So I think if she can get those high levels and get that farm, she needs to get really tanky to survive, because obviously she, once she pops that ultimate, you have all these spirits flying around. She has a silence, she has a big nuke. People are going to go for her really quickly, and I mean she needs something to survive all that hate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, as you're saying, level 1 summons 4 spirits, level 2, 10 spirits, level 3, 18 spirits, and obviously that's increased by however many points you have in Witchcraft. But yeah, I mean, popping that ultimate, it's so obvious. It's not something you can just kind of sit in the back and have your ultimate on and be like, ah ha ha ha! You've been saying you're getting raped by spirits and you never knew. It's just so obvious, and it's automatically just, kill the Crobolus! Gotta get her down.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about the items then. What kind of things do you think are really important to get on her?
Well, it's interesting seeing her played both in Dota 1 and then the Han kind of mirror.
Defiler.
And yeah, like I said, Han. Basically, when I saw her played a lot competitively in Here's Newerth, one of the most common builds I would see is that Yule Scepter Divinity, which would, when you cast on either a friendly or enemy hero, it cyclones them for a few seconds. I don't remember exactly how many. But the point is, while that cyclone is going, and the reason this is so popular on her, if you cast on yourself while your ultimate's on, those ghosts are still flying around doing a lot of damage. So essentially, let's say you're getting chased down by a hero who's going to just trash you one-on-one. You pop your ultimate, it's hurting him a lot, but he's still going to kill you regardless. Well, the great thing is you pop that Yule's on you, now they can attack you, but they're still getting annihilated by these ghosts in the meantime. You land, you cast your Carrion Swarm, they're probably dead.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it also buys you more time for that ultimate to end. I mean, when that ends, you do get healed for a pretty significant amount. So, yeah, if you're taking a lot of heat, just popping that Yule Scepter knocks you up in the air. Buy yourself some time. You buy yourself some time for reinforcements, perhaps, someone to come in and help you. And also, it gets you closer to the time to when your ghost will return and heal you up eventually.
Yeah, let's see. I like I believe it's called Ghost Scepter?
Yes.
Yes, that's the item. And obviously that's more dependent on, of course, what you're up against. But if you're up against like a nice physical hard carry who like just jumps on you right when the fight starts and you're, oh, I'm dead. No, if you have that item, you just use it, and that's like a good 4 or 5 seconds where you can't be physically harmed. So that's really nice. Anything that lets you, I guess, survive longer and let your ghost do maximum damage. Obviously, this is why you also would go like a hard Tarask, for example. That's an expensive item, but if you can get one of those on her, she is hard to take down.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying before, just like Necrolite, she really benefits from a good, strong farm. I was looking through some of the items and thinking about Krobus, and she really benefits a lot from some of the really expensive items. Like, I'm thinking Shiva's Guard, which is going to give her some survivability, it's going to give her some more mana. It's going to give the attack speed slow and the movement speed slow, which means she gets to keep up with people she's chasing down, and also it's going to help her against those hard carries. Bloodstone as well, it's a ton of health, a ton of mana, and regeneration for both of those. And then also, you think when you have that big target painted on your back, if they kill you when you die, not only are you going to be dead for a short amount of time, but you're also going to be healing your allies in the area.
Right. For a good chunk.
Yeah, depending on how many
charges
you have on the item. It's, a really nice item to have, but of course that costs over 5,000 gold, as well as Shiva's Guard.
Yeah, and I mean, I was also thinking along, another popular item would be if they got like some kind of survival, like Yule's maybe into even a sheep stick, depending on how you're farming. Just because if you can find someone in the woods, like an anti-mage or something, who's going to wreck you, if you can just pop your ult and sheep them, that's a nice CC that she doesn't provide CC like we discussed earlier. All she really has is a silence. So if you can get that initial CC on someone, follow that up with like a silence afterwards, after they come out of it, that's a long time. They really just have to take a beating from your ghosts, you know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, especially when you're thinking like anti-mage, that silence is so huge against him.
And the reason we bring him up so much is because he's picked pretty much every game.
Yeah, he's so strong right now. It's kind of unbelievable. So, how would you go about building this hero? We've mentioned you probably want to go between the Locust Swarm and the Exorcism, but how many points do you wind up putting in the Silence? I mean, it's obviously a very useful spell. I mean, when do you get that? Would you rather get that like level 2 or level 4?
It really depends on the lane you're in, I would say. I mean, I think personally she's strongest probably in that solo mid. She can work in a dual lane, but she doesn't get the levels as quickly, so it's not as effective. She's not like the best auto attacker. She gets a lot of her farm from casting her Carrion Swarm, so I like her in that middle. And that being said, I would obviously every time I could, I would put a point in Carrion Swarm. And honestly, I would probably wait till at least level 4 to get that silence. Of course, like I said, it does depend on your matchup, but in most cases, since the radius, first of all, in level 1 silence isn't huge, and you have to get sort of close to someone to cast it anyways, it's really not going to do you a whole lot of good to get early on,
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I do like about it, though, is we've mentioned this before recently, and noticing how the spells ramp up basically as you put points into them. 1 point gets you 3 seconds. Every rank after that only gives you 1 additional second. Of course, it increases the area as well, but getting just the 1 point in that, it's significant. 3 times as useful as putting subsequent points into it.
Yeah, but I mean, like we compare that to the Carrion Swarm, where it's 100 damage per unit at the first level, but it's 175, so it almost doubles from just another point. I mean, that's pretty effective per point. Then, of course, it goes up 75 each. Actually, not even 75 each rank. It looks like only 50 from 3 to 4. But either way, if you're obviously leveling Witchcraft with that, it's going to be hitting hard and have a pretty short cooldown. So, I don't know. Like I said, it depends on the matchup, but I probably wouldn't grab Silence too early on.
Yeah, I suppose I will agree with you. The other nice thing about Witchcraft is the fact that it gives you movement speed, which I always love. And you think when you pick up the Yule's Scepter Divinity, that's also going to give you movement speed, so she's going to be quick. She's going to be able to get around the map as she pleases. You probably won't have to get the phase boots that's probably in the recommended for.
I used to build that all the time.
Really?
I did. I mean, the thing is with her, Power Tread is worthless. Not worthless, but I mean, attack speed. She all she's supposed to do in a fight when it starts, pop her ult, spam her wave, and try not to get killed. So you're not going to be doing a whole lot of auto-attacking per se. You're most likely going to be trying to kite people around. And phase boots, you get that little extra speed burst. Boots of Travels are my favorite on her, just because it gives you a ton of speed, and you can farm like a madman when you get those. But of course those are expensive, and it's not really something you want to build right away. You'd rather have more survivability. But I think phase boots in the interim, especially if you get them kind of early in that middle lane, your auto attacks are actually pretty strong, surprisingly, when you get those phase boots. And you can also go and run and grab that rune that pops up before someone else. So, I don't know. I think she's one of the heroes that I actually might like it on.
What would you think about the Arcane Boots? I mean, it's going to make her Carrion Swarm or the Locust Swarm spammable, pretty much. Whenever it's off cooldown, you're going to be able to use it. And then just get that mana back. It's also going to increase your mana pool, so you can be able to chain your spells together. I think I really like those the best. What do you think?
I think I agree with you, and I kind of actually forgot those existed for a half second for some reason. But yeah, man, because I guess when we were talking about her, I was thinking back to Han, because we played Han for a long time, and since they didn't have Arcane Boots in that game, all you could really compare it to were the other ones in the game, and that's probably why the phase boots would be my first choice. But then now you're discussing that, I think that makes a ton of sense. She kind of run the mana issues because she spams that so often. And since we're going to be building tanky on her, we're not really getting a ton of mana or int items right away, at least, unless you go Yules. Then okay, you have some mana regen. But if you're going like a Heart or something, that's not going to leave you any room for mana.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think of Witchcraft, the nice thing about it is it does reduce the mana cost, cooldown. But the mana cost reduction, even at rank 4, is only 25, which is really not that big a deal. I mean, you might get an extra free cast every 4 or 5 casts on the Locust Swarm, but yeah, not really enough to go like, okay, don't worry about it, no mana issues anymore, we're okay.
Exactly. Perseverance, like I said, it really does depend on builds, but like if you're up against someone like a Pudge or someone with a spell that's going to single target CC you really hard, Nullstone is another common build on her because it gives her that nice health and mana pool from the Ultimate Orb, as well as the regen, so she can sustain and stay in a lane. So it's just another item, possibly.
Yeah, it's very true. That's always a nice item to have on a lot of the intellect heroes, just because, like you said, you just get all those stats, the health and the mana, and then, the regen. Just a really nice item to grab. So, ultimate question, I guess. How viable do you think Crobolus is competitively, and even not competitively? Do you think she's somebody that you yourself might pick up from time to time just to mess with?
Like I said, I think she's a fun hero. I want to play her more. Unfortunately, the way our friends pick, I don't get too many good options to fit her into a composition that she would probably be better in. I think she is strong in a pushing, not late game strategy. If you have like anti-mage or faceless on your team, she's helpful. She's helpful throughout the game, but I think she might benefit in a team that is more focused on the middle game, like the kind of like winning earlier on. You know what I mean? But that being said, since the way we've watched competitive games, how the heroes have been picked, it's pretty much main focus is farming that carry, and then maybe getting some nice pushes. But essentially, yeah, you're just trying to focus on getting that anti-mage or someone farm. So I don't think she's going to get picked up as much as we'd like her to, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons you really want to run her middle is because once you hit level 6, you really do become a strong pusher. You can push out middle lane pretty easily with your Locust Swarm, and then if you have TP scroll on you, you can just go to another lane and help push tower. You think a lot like what Shadow Shaman will do, placing his wards down to help push towers. And you're just trying to use that whenever it's available to gank and push. If you have other lanes that have stuns in them that kind of complement the fact that you don't really have one, you can really do some serious damage roaming around once you hit that level 6.
Yeah, exactly. She's a pretty effective ganker. Not as great as other ones just because she has no slow or stun. But, like you said, she can come around. If she helps you get a kill, then she'll stick around with her ultimate and just push the lane, and that's free gold for your team right there. She's also a really great Roshan killer.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
All those ghosts are going to focus fire right on him. Do they do magic or physical damage? Because I'm not 100% sure. If it's physical, you could really match that up well with, like, Slardar Ult or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is in Dota 2. In Dota, it counts as hero damage.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know how that really translates coming into Dota 2. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think there's a hero type damage.
Yeah, not so much anymore. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, as they increase the number of heroes that are good at pushing into the game, it'll be interesting to see if that helps push the meta in another direction or if it's going to stick with the hard carry heroes. I think she'd be really interesting to play in pubs as well. Even if she ganks the other lanes and doesn't get a kill off of them, the amount of damage she can do will help push those heroes out of the lane, maybe make them retreat, have to go back and heal. And even if they stay around and try and defend the tower, those ghosts are going to go after those heroes if they try and get into range to be able to do anything to Crobolus. So she's just really good at being able to push those side lanes.
Yeah. Did you mention that, if the ghosts are attacking a hero but she's not, the tower doesn't actually aggro her?
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so the ghosts don't actually cause threat for her.
So it's kind of like orb walking, essentially, with your ultimate.
Except with your ultimate, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, pretty sweet deal.
So now I was just, I don't know, in my head I started thinking, because I remember I asked you about like your ultimate pushing team, and now I'm kind of thinking if you get her, with Nature's Prophet, Slither, Shadow Shaman, and I don't even care who you throw in the mix at that point. That's a lot to deal with. That would just be interesting. It probably wouldn't work. The other team would find a way to counter just because they're professionals. But I think if you could do that like in a pub stomp kind of game, that'd be hilarious.
Hysterical. I would love to see that. Yeah, I mean, you could just blow stuff down at that point.
Chen. Let's just throw Chen in there.
There you go, yeah.
I don't know.
Then you get some of that stun that Krobos is lacking as well with the Centaur Khans.
There you go. Because they're always spawning every time.
Every single camp is a Centaur Khan. Just waiting to get persuaded. It's like he's right on the fence. As soon as Chen walks in range, he's like, you know what, sir, I like the way you look. I like that little weird sideways hat you got on. I'm going to come join your cause. Start stunning some fools.
Fairweather fans. That's okay.
Yeah, there you go. Well, okay, so then we'll say viable in pubs. We'll have to see how she fares in
the professional meta. Probably not, but maybe because you see some heroes in the professional games that you probably wouldn't expect. I think Pudge is a great example. I wouldn't have expected him in a lot of games just because high skilled players should potentially have more wards, have more vision, and be more wary of those hooks to dodge them. But then again, you see like Dendi pick him up from Navi. I think actually they're probably one of the only teams that really does run him. I know the Honey Badgers. Oh my God, I don't remember the name. They won a tournament pretty recently. But anyway, Wild Honey Badgers.
Yep.
They played him and actually played him pretty strong as well. He's also just a fun hero to watch. I love games with Pudge in him just because here people they're scared. They're just scared the whole game.
Yeah, you have to play differently with him. He's one of the few heroes where you just straight up, when you see him, if you don't change the way you play, you're going to lose.
Oh, yeah.
Just straight up. Prophet's kind of, I think, the same way. You have to make sure you have the Scrolls TP. You probably want to carry tangos on you at all times if you have the room for it, so that you can get out of his circle of trees, the sprout.
Or Force Staff.
Everybody has a Force Staff. I like it.
Anti-mage, too.
Yeah, exactly. Blink, Force Staff. You're right on top of somebody. It's beautiful.
That's a lot of mobility.
That is. That's going to be the new meta. You heard it here first, folks. Brochat, Force Staff on Anti-Mage.
Oh, wow.
So let's get into the most recent hero, the guy that actually came out today. Very happy to see him. And, we're talking about meta. He's an agility hero. We'll have to see if he is able to push anybody out. Yeah. Ursa Warrior. So first skill is Earth Shock. Does damage slow and an AoE around him. Gets up to 55% slow, rather significant. 7-second cooldown on an area around him, as we said. So that's obviously very nice to have. His next ability, Overpower, increases attack speed for a certain number of attacks or for a duration of time. It gets up to an absurd speed, 400% increased attack speed. His E ability is Fury Swipes, an orb effect that passively increases the amount of damage he does to a target that he's been attacking. It adds on a stacking debuff, essentially, which makes you do increased damage. And his final ability, his ultimate, is Enrage on a 25-second cooldown and a 15-second duration. Increases his damage based on his current life. So what do you...
And no mana cost.
Oh, and no mana cost. There you go.
He feels like it.
Yeah, pretty fantastic. So what do you think of him in general?
He's fun to play. Not so much to be playing against. But he is seriously just like all the other agility carries in the sense that he needs to be able to get easy access to farm from like creeps or whatever. If there's if he's in the lane against a couple of range here or something that they're just going to push him out, he's probably not going to do that well in the game. So like I said, he's pretty similar to all the other agility heroes in that sense. He obviously he's probably has one of the most common item builds in the game. Well, at least from professionals or higher skill players. Maybe newbies decide to build them, whatever they choose. But essentially, he's unique because he's an agility that builds tanky. And some other ones do, but they don't need to. A lot of them will just go straight up damage items. But he gains damage from building tanky.
Yeah, he's really strange. Like, when nubbed me, I was thinking about, like, oh yeah, Ursa comes into the game, another strength hero. And I was like, wait a minute, He's not strength at all. He just happens to build a lot of strength because of that ultimate.
Yeah.
It's really kind of strange. It's nice because it's not like anti-mage where you're essentially picking between do more damage or live longer. You're accomplishing both of those things by building tanky.
Right.
So obviously we discussed his role. You know, he has that carry. Hopefully he provides a slow, which is really nice. But you figure you put him in a lane with a stun, that gives him the ability to get some of those stacks up there from his E ability, the Fury Swipes. What kind of item builds do you like to see
like
on
I
him?
was saying, I think the best and most common route on him, a lot of people rush straight for that Vladimir's offering. And it's just, what kind of dance were you doing? I don't even want to know.
Fantastic.
So, so basically Vladimir's offering, gives that lifesteal aura. Since he does have an orb effect as one of his moves, he obviously cannot build another orb. So that's the beauty of Vladimir's offering for him, is he can still get that lifesteal without it being an orb effect. It also gives the damage, the mana regen. It's just an overall really amazing item for him. And basically what people say is if you can have Vladimir's offering by around level 8 or so, maybe Power Treads, I'm not sure, you can solo Roshan.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, you think if there are a lot of heroes that can solo Roshan once they get up really high, but the fact that he can do it so early, it's something you have to think about when you're playing against him. You have to be aware that that's a possibility, and you have to try and keep up the wards, be very aware of where the enemy team is, because they can sneak it at a very early point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, when you're playing against an Ursa, it's pretty much essential when he's around level 8, level 9, to at least have some kind of vision near there. Because if you don't, he could sneak it pretty easily. And what people suggest is, like, don't give away that you know he's starting it. Just be ready after, like, a few seconds to go in there and just gank him when he's really low and the Roshan's low, and then you just stall it from him. So, yeah, vision is probably the best thing you can do to counter him.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing, too, if you have the Ursa on your team and he starts it and he's trying to solo it, you just stick in your lane. You know, you don't try and make it obvious that something might be happening, but, you know, you figure once it gets low, then you can start moving your team in to make sure that he secures that kill. By the time the enemy team is like, wait, where did everybody go? Oh, maybe they're doing Roshan. He's already at a critical health level, and, you know, it's easy to kind of pick him off at that point.
Yeah, so going on with the build, so a lot of people start with that Vladimir's offering, then get like at least regular boots, probably power treads though, and they'll be either deciding between, I guess, how their farm's going and whatnot. A blacking bar is a very, very common. It gives strength, so it gives a lot of health, which adds damage. Then it adds damage itself, so more damage. And then, of course, that magic immunity, which for any carry is pretty essential. I mean, you build that on a lot of carries anyways, like Drow or any of them really could use it. Really synergizes well with his abilities and is overall just nice. And then Blink Dagger as probably his next most important item.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. It's something I don't think you would think is like a very obvious choice. It kind of reminds me of Blink Dagger on Nevermore. Like, the first time I saw it, I'm like, why would you ever do that? And then, of course, the first time I saw him blink in on somebody and destroy them with his ultimate, like, okay, that makes sense. And think about Earthshock, it actually does a pretty significant amount of damage. The last rank does 240 damage, 55% movement speed slow, and being able to jump on top of people applying that slow means he's going to be able to get those stacks going too, with that E ability, which is really, I think, a huge part of what makes him so dangerous.
Yeah, and I also kind of want to point out about that move. The radius in Dota 1 was only 250, but now it's 365. So actually, that's a pretty significant increase, and that's really going to probably help him close the gap to people. That's probably why Blink Dagger is so essential, is because he has trouble getting in there to initiate. But if he can, that radius is just, of course, a little bigger, it's going to obviously help him out in the long run, be able to hit more people too. So this is kind of the combo I want to just mention out that people might not be aware of with Ursa if they're trying him out now. If you can get that Blink Dagger and all your abilities have, let's just say you maxed all your abilities, whatever. What a good idea is, before you engage, you pop your, what's it called? The
Overpower.
The Overpower. You use it, and the beauty of that, unless they change into Dota 2, which I hope they didn't, but it has a 15-second duration and a 10-second cooldown. So what you do is you use it, and then around 8 or 9 seconds, you blink in on someone, slow them, attack a lot, and then it's up again to use again. So you essentially get to use it twice in a row on someone. And that's 8 or 10 really fast attacks on someone.
Yeah, you're going to be able to rip apart some of those support heroes, especially like you said, you get the Blink Dagger, and if you have the BKB, you're just going to jump in. You'll probably already have the BKB popped if you really want to make sure that you're going to do a significant amount of damage. And then you're just going to have, that amount of time, that duration, even at the lowest level, 6 seconds on the BKB, 5 seconds?
5 seconds.
5 seconds on BKB. That's plenty of time when you're considering how fast you're attacking in order to be able to, take out one of those heroes that, you really would just not like there to be in those teamfight situations.
Perhaps. And then, like I said, with Vladimir's offering, since he's attacking so fast, he's getting so much life back. And he's doing a ton of damage while doing that. So, I mean, that's why these items are just so great for him. And then after that point, it's kind of suggested you go like a Heart of Tarrasque if you can afford it. Anything really that gives you health and survivability. Butterfly's not even a bad option on him just because they'll let you live longer. And, of course, you get more attack speed. The agility doesn't hurt, more damage. But probably overall, you'd rather go with something with more health on it.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's what I was asking you earlier, and I'm going to bring it up again. I'm really curious to see, like, a Mana Asylum. I think it'd be kind of funny, first of all. But second, you think it gives you agility, which is going to give you damage, and attack speed, which is fantastic. You get health from the Ultimate Orb. You're also going to get the Yasha, which is going to make you move faster, which is going to make you be able to chase people down, be able to get in there and land your Q, be able to put up the stacks faster to do a lot more damage. What do you think?
And the images are always nice for pushing a lane, for confusing enemies when you're throwing, like you send your image into the jungle to scout out. I mean, it's a great item overall on most heroes, or at least carry heroes, I guess I should say. I think that'd be a decent choice. Kind of something maybe we want to test out and see how, because like I said, it's not known to be a very common build on him, but yeah, I definitely can see where it would be really nice for him.
Yeah, the one thing, too, I like about picking up Vladimir's offering is I'm a huge fan of Ring of Basilius. Like, I just love it. Playing support heroes, I really just like picking it up most of the time, unless it's just really not going to be that beneficial to give my lane mate that additional mana.
And
but you
armor.
think, yeah, and the armor, being able to pick it up on Ursa is really nice. It's going to help your support be able to support you better. And you're going to have the mana regeneration. You're ensuring it's in that lane, and because it's just such a fantastic item, it's going to help you push and stuff too when you decide to activate it. So, being able to, having a good excuse to put that on a hero is always nice, I think.
Yeah, and another direction you can kind of take him, once you kind of got a few levels from the laning phase and you have a Vladimir's offering, you could essentially, just go into your jungle and start jungling, because he has the lifesteal, he has a sustain. And of course, when you're leveling up Overpower and your Orb effect, you're going to kill these things pretty quick. Even the big creeps, you'll kill them really quickly. So not a bad option there. And then that leaves that bottom or lane or whatever he was in to get more experience and farm themselves.
Yeah, and even if you're getting put into a bad situation, if you can't really even stand in your lane, you always have the option of going into that jungle, transitioning into it if you have to ensure that you can get some farm,
Yeah.
So, what do you think about his potential, or how would you want to build his skills, first of all?
I think it's generally best to maximize the orb, just because it goes up a lot of damage per rank. And the fact is, when he's attacking faster, obviously, that's just going to... the damage increases even more so. And generally, it's a good idea to get at least 1 point in your Q in the... I believe it's called Earthshock. Yeah, Earthshock. Get that even pretty early, maybe even level 2. 2 or 3, I would say, to get that at the latest, just because it gets that 25% slow. It's kind of like your initiation. You have some kind of CC, soft CC, I guess it would be called, but it actually is pretty effective to have. And then after you maximize your orb, I would probably then go with the Overpower and just max that out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In Dota 2, it's not duration based. It's just based on number of attacks.
Oh, so my whole thing I said earlier doesn't make sense.
Well, there you go.
That is really unfortunate.
Well, there you go. Noting one of the changes going from Dota 1 to Dota 2.
Well, now he sucks.
Yeah. Before,
Don't
I was
pick
going to
him.
play him every game, but not anymore.
Uh,
So what do you think about then potential viability? Like, as we said, he's an agility hero. We get to throw him into the ring with some of the other really powerful agility heroes. He's going to be really tanky, so he's going to be difficult to deal with, and he wants to build an item like Vladimir's offering. It's going to help him and his allies, and it's also, he wants to get that BKB, which is going to help him do more damage and just be much more effective. So he's kind of forced into really good items. So do you think that's going to give him some kind of...
See, I like him.
Viability?
I like him. I think he could do well. Just picking up all that farm and, like you said, being able to initiate. You could probably make some comps around him that would make him really, really effective. But the fact is, with Lifestealer in the game, I think he could be outclassed by him in the sense that that's another carry who has a ton of damage, really hard to kill with the magic immunity already built into his kit, and then an ultimate so he can escape from all situations. I think Lifestealer might outclass him just as a carry, and he doesn't even get picked up either. Or, for example, if you do pick Ursa, or if a team picks Ursa, you could probably counter pick with Lifestealer, just because you're building him tanky. Oh, Lifestealer does a % of your health. Okay,
Yeah.
so now the more health you get, the more he's going to hurt you. And I don't know. I think he could be used, but most likely not going to be seen a lot.
Yeah. Very unfortunate. We'll have to see, though. He might luck out, and we'll see 5 Ursas.
Wow, that's a lot of Ursas.
I'm not sure how it would work, but
Me neither.
put in the right hands, I'm sure it would be finagled. TM.
Is that a word?
Yes. Yes, it is. Look it up,
It's worked
Webster.
for you.
Yes.
But yeah, so I guess then, I don't know. Where do you want to go from here?
I don't know. How long have we been going here so far?
It's been going
Pretty,
for probably about, I don't know. I don't keep track of stuff.
Oh, okay. A time. It's been going for minutes.
Time o'clock.
Time o'clock. Okay, what kind of things do you think could be implemented into the game, as we were talking about with the suggested items, being able to edit that? What other things do you think, or what would you like to see put into the game? What other things do you expect they might add into the game to help just make it a little bit more user-friendly and,
Well, they already have a tutorial system, which is nice. They have the co-op versus AI kind of implemented feature. So they covered a lot of their basics already. I think they could update, and they probably will, but their current pause system, the fact that when you use it, it just instantly pauses, and then when you unpause, it's instant. They really need to carry over that countdown timer that's in, I know at least here's New Earth has it, but just essentially, first of all, it's a vote to pause, which you'll see that and you'll be like, oh, a pause might be coming up, and then it goes 3, 2, 1, boom, and then when you unpause, it's 3, 2, 1. It gives you time to, react, be ready for the situation. Overall, just better.
Yeah, what happens if you, get into a fight just as somebody pauses? And if it's a 20, 30-second pause, the person might be getting chased down. They're just not ready for the unpause, and where they might have been able to get away, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, crap, I gotta start clicking.
Yes,
So
essentially, people are saying it can be abused pretty easily.
yeah, that's very true. We were talking a little bit before this podcast about something very controversial that people want added into the game is that vote concede.
Yes.
What are your particular feelings about it?
I'm mixed, honestly. I think I would like to see at least some form of it implemented. I think it should be in the game in some form. I don't know if it should be like other MOBAs, where it's percent, like a certain amount of people have to vote, or if it's at this many minutes in the game, it needs this many people, this many, blah, 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 blah. But I think overall it'd be healthy for the game to allow you to end it early without having to wait out those games. We've all had them where, for example, you're down by a ton. You can't win any team fights. You've tried. All you can do is turtle in your base and wait. And then other teams decide, oh, I'm going to farm for 25 more minutes because we can, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's just like, okay, the game's over, but we can't leave. And it's just frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. I believe what I heard was that the justification for not putting into the game, I think Valve didn't want to, is that, the whole MOBA thing, it's kind of a game of comebacks. It's, can you get that item that might turn the tide of the battle? Can you sneak Roshan? Can you get that Aegis, and will that help you do it? Can you catch somebody in a really bad situation? Then all of a sudden it's 4v5, and where you couldn't win the 5v5 team fights, now you have an opportunity to do something about it. And I just don't think they wanted you to get to, like you were saying, you kind of know after a certain point, but I think some people it's like, 10 minutes, I got first blooded, game over.
Right. But either way, I think implementing this feature, there's still going to be those players regardless, even if you don't. And, maybe if there's not that feature to concede, maybe instead that player is just going to be like, well, now I'm just going to feed the rest of the game, or I'm just going to AFK Fountain and not leave the game because I'm just going to troll you guys. And there's so many possibilities with other situations that can happen, and I just don't see why it can't just be a part of the game. In professional games, we've seen tournaments, they say play it out, even though you call the GGs. But essentially, you can just leave the game. There's nothing really harming you at this point in the game. And I don't see why it's not a part of the game. I don't know. You're kind of agreeing with me that it should at least be in the game in some kind of form.
Yeah, I think so. It's weird because as you get it, you kind of run into other problems. Like, if it takes all 5 people to concede and one person doesn't want to, for some ridiculous reason, well, then you're just like, this is stupid. I wish it was 4 out of 5 because, consensus should be able to determine if we can leave or not.
This isn't a democracy.
Exactly. So you kind of open up a whole nother bag of like, well, what is the proper amount of conceding you can do? When should you be able to start the vote? How many people should it take? And I'm sure no matter what they do, there's always going to be a group that doesn't like it. Yeah. So, but yeah, and the other thing too, if you're talking about competitively, obviously they can just kind of GG and that's it, and they'll just sit around and that's the end of it. But if you want to play a couple games of Dota and you get caught in one of those games where you're just waiting for the other team to push for, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's just so demoralizing. You don't want to play anymore. You just kind of know this is stupid, and it just makes you mad. If you run anywhere out of the base and there's somebody there and they're just going to rape you, and you still have to sit around and just wait for the game to play out, that can make you not want to play anymore.
There was this article, I think, where Melk, he's kind of well known in the professional scene. Basically what he said is he doesn't think it should be implemented just because of how it will bring this negative behavior and bad habits, I guess, into the game, where people are just going to start thinking, oh, the game's over when it's not, too early, and it's just going to go downhill from there. And I guess at one specific point he mentioned that players who aren't like you're forced to turtle up in your team, he's going to say, well, that's your punishment for playing bad. Now you're going to not want to play as bad in your next game. And I honestly don't agree with that at all. I think, it's a lot, not a lot of times, but depending on your situation, it's not always your fault. Something could have happened that was just out of your control, and you might have had one of your best games you've had in a while, but it's a 5-player team. It's a team game. So essentially, if one person's just going to be terrible on your team, what are you going to do about it? It's just, you're going to lose, and you want to just move on. You want to be like, okay, this game, I did what I wanted to do, and I want to play the next one. And, it shouldn't necessarily only cater to the elitists, the high-tier players who are going to push to try to win that game. There's a lot of us casual people who are also playing here.
Yeah. Let's say you're one of those people who's like, you come home from work, you're going to bust out a game or two, you have an hour or whatever. You're essentially wasting time in some of those games. Yeah. So, I think probably the smart thing to do is if you made it, it takes everybody on the team to concede, and you did it after maybe 30, 35 minutes. So that way you start to enter that late game. So it's like 4 people on your team hate it, but then you have Animage who's just been sitting in the jungle. He's like, don't worry guys, I got this.
Yeah.
Let me show you. And then you just bust out a pentakill right at the 30-minute mark. It's like, oh.
Then you look at his items and he has a blink dagger. It's like, well.
Blinking all over the place.
Force staff. No, that's the name.
Yeah, blink dagger. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. He gets force staffs. Exactly. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I'm so thrilled about the suggested item thing.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to be able to set that up. It's really not a big deal. It doesn't change the way you're gonna play it, but you get so used to looking at the pages in maybe other games, and then you come to this one, you spend like 30 seconds like clicking through every single page looking for what you want. When I play Crystal Maiden, I need to know where wards, sentry wards, and the courier is, and really, that's about it.
Well, think about like how they're taking ideas from the original Dota and improving them, which is a great direction. Obviously, just for example, think about how shopping was in Dota 1. It was literally like 6 like characters that you had to click on. Each one had like 9 items you could buy, including recipes and stuff. And now look at it; it's this beautiful shop interface. You can type in items. You can, it's pretty well laid out, to be honest. And even the color coding helps. I mean, there's so many great things they've already done to try to improve the game. So I think it's only going to go better from here.
Yeah, definitely. Valve's doing a really fantastic job. Great company, and we'll have to see how they're able to take it further. If they're releasing a hero a week, we think, and there are 104, 105 heroes they said they're going to release with. You can only do 52 heroes in a year if you release one a week. So it sounds like they have plenty of time to make these improvements and really get the community feedback as they implement these different things.
Absolutely. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up here since we've discussed quite a bit already.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everyone get out there, try out these new heroes, make us proud, show us some Death Prophets, show us how they do work.
Please, yeah, send us some emails, brocasts, BROCASTS, @gmail.com. Just send us your questions, stuff you might want us to talk about in some of these podcasts, whether they be just about the things we kind of covered today in the patch notes and heroes, or whether it's stuff about just the general competitive scene, or ways of improving. Please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And as always, where's our catchphrase?
Try to get some sleep out there.
TM.
TM.